everybody. This is Inga here from Israel, and I'm sitting here today with a very, very special guest, with Shaya, and I'm so happy very honored to talk to you today. Thank you so much for being my guest here.
You are more than welcome.
Thank you, Shaya. So, I would say I start already with a very, very personal question. So I listened a little bit to your life story from interviews and from other talks I saw on YouTube, for example, and it's a story of really of winning, of losing, of fighting, and also like being aboard of the Exodus, almost arriving here in this country, then being sent back, and you had to move to several places many times and lost family members and friends. And my question would be, what kept you so strong and what kept you fighting throughout all the years?
Well, I'm a Holocaust survivor, and a Holocaust survivor, I'm emphasizing on the word survivor, is willing to survive all as long as he lives. So this is the reason why I was fighting in order to stay as a human being and to achieve my goals and to be, the most important, to be in a Jewish state called Israel, which for generations and generations, actually 2,000 years, we didn't have a state. Those are the reasons that I was all the time fighting against, doesn't matter what, but against something and pro things that I wanted.
So that's also the reason why you joined the Air Force here and became a fighter pilot, even after all you witnessed.
Well, I actually, when I finished high school, I intended to volunteer at the paratroopers. Because I said to myself that this is something which those are fighters that are defending our country at the front line. But I received invitation to exams of the flying school. I didn't know anything about flying, anything, airplanes, flying. But I said, well, I will try. I passed the exams. I started the flying course in 1954, and on the 25th of March 1956, I graduated as a second lieutenant with flying wings and started my flying career in the Israeli Air Force for 22 years.
Wow, 22 years in the Israeli Air Force. So, and also lots of your colleagues were Holocaust survivors, right?
Well, I must tell you that in the flying school, most, in those days, 85%, maybe 90% were guys who came from kibbutzim or moshavim, which are villages, agricultural villages. From the cities, there were about 10 or 15%. The most of the cadets were coming from the kibbutzim, which is changing today it's not the same. Today the majority is coming from cities and the minority is coming from kibbutzim. So when we started the course in the beginning, as we had to pass a stage of ground exams, fighting exams, I was next in the quarters. I was next to another guy. He was also a Holocaust survivor. I didn't know that he's a Holocaust survivor. He didn't know that I'm a Holocaust survivor. We were Israelis.
So what was the reason you didn't really share your stories and you didn't really share that you were both Holocaust survivors?
The reason was simple and actually different. Each person has his own reasons why he didn't share what happened, first of all, that he's a Holocaust survivor and what happened during those days. Why? I tell you what my reason was. I said to myself, who is interested to hear my story? Why? And actually we started to talk a little bit after the Eichmann trial. Today, there's nothing to, today everyone talks about Holocaust, and there's the evening of Holocaust days, which as my wife Sipich told you, that we are speaking at different places because we are the last generation. In those days, no one spoke about the Holocaust.
But you were fighting strong for Israel to protect the state of Israel.
I was fighting to protect the state of Israel because it's a kind of a slogan. This is the only Jewish state. There is no other Jewish state.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Christian states, Catholic states, but there is no other state of Jews.
Yeah, so during your time as a pilot, you were really focusing on the present moment, not what happened in the past, but you wanted to protect the state with all your heart because it was your home, it became your home, right?
Yeah, that's correct. But look, when we flew and we were fighting, I was fighting in the 56 war, what was the Sinai War, 67 war, 73 war, 82 I was not flying, I was air consultant to the Northern Commander. And we were fighting because we knew that, as I said before, that this is the only state for the Jews in the whole world.
So Shaya, being a passenger of the Exodus and arriving here early, but then being sent back, and then really arriving soon after the state of Israel was declared, I think you really experienced Israel from its very beginning until today. And now, looking back, what was your perception of the state's development in the past 75 years, so from 1948 to today, and which are milestones you would really like to mention in this context?
Well, first of all, I don't think that there is another state in the world that developed to the standard of Israel today in 75 years. Because we are leading, as you know, in high tech, we are leading in many fields of engineering, of medicine, of agriculture.
Yes.
We have the most developed agriculture in the world. Because we know that the only way for Jews is to start and keep this country in very different fields. It's not only to protect as a defense of military the state, but it's in all fields, in agriculture and medicine, in you name it.
So also economically, to keep it to keep it strong, economically spoken as well.
Yeah, of course, economic of Israel. Unfortunately, today we have a government which I do not agree in anything with them.
Yes.
But and I protest as well, as many Israelis, as you know. Thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s of Israelis protest against this government. But still, we are very strong in the economics.
Where do you see this country going to, looking to the future now?
Well, to the future, first of all, we have a lot to develop yet. A lot. There's no end to development in any field. There's no end to it. And what I hope, and I think most of the Israelis hope, that we'll get rid of this government and of the crime minister, as I call him, not prime, but crime minister, and we will continue to lead in many fields in the world.
Yeah, and even expand the ways you already went in the past.
Definitely.
Yeah. Shaya, you saw life from so many different perspectives we as later generations can hardly grasp or can even imagine. And I recently came across this quote, and I have to look at my notes here. So it says, the first generation creates, the second maintains, and the third and the fourth destroys. And now looking at this entire global development, also at the political situation in Israel, which you just mentioned, I think it's more important than ever to remember the past. So what do you think, which role will people like you play who continue to share the stories, and which roles will the next generations play in preserving peace and keep making the world a better place?
Well, I myself and my generation, we are towards the end. So there should not be any expectations from our generation. But the youngsters, my daughters, my son-in-laws, my granddaughters, my grandchildren, they have to understand what the state of Israel means for a Jew. I know what it means because Tzippi, my wife, and my eyes, and I and myself, and all my generation, they came from there to here. And we have even a movie which is called There and Here.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between there and here. We understand that this country has first of all to be a Jewish democratic state. No interference with any subject of democracy.
Mm-hmm.
What this government is trying to do. And you know, you heard, maybe you even saw all the demonstrations and what's going on for about half a year, if not more. And we will win. I have no doubt we will win. And this Prime Minister will get away from his power, and we will get rid of him.
Well, you're a strong nation, and you have proved that in the past many, many times. You're a strong people.
We are strong people, and there is no other alternative but to win.
Mm-hmm. And sharing your stories with younger generations, what is your experience like? How do they receive your stories? How do they usually react when you tell them about your life?
Well, again, if you talk about today,
Mm-hmm.
or let's say the last 10, 12 years,
Mm-hmm.
it's nothing to compare with what was 40 or 50 years ago.
Right.
Usually, if something happens, you realize it a year, 2 years. Here, it was exactly opposite. In the first 10, 15, 20 years, Holocaust was nothing. There was a Holocaust. But today, the Holocaust has a lot of meaning to this country.
Mm-hmm.
We are standing for our life, for our strengths of our country, because we remember today more about the Holocaust than 40 years ago.
So why do you think it's that? Why would you say you remember today more and you started sharing your stories more nowadays than before?
I tell you, people that came from there,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, I will call it breaks, the natives, the Tsabarim, the Tsabar, looked at them as people who didn't react, who didn't fight, and they were called even soap, sabon, because the Germans made of the fat of the human beings. They made soap. So they were, in a way, they were ashamed. In a way, I myself wanted to show that I am a fighter, that I know what I want to do, that I can do, and nothing will stop me. And the only future that I'm looking forward is win, win, win.
And that's what you still do today.
And what I, even in my age, 88 years old, I'm doing even today. And this is the reason that I am calling, he's not my prime minister, he's my crime minister. I'm calling by the name crime because I want to get rid of him as most of the citizens of this country.
Mm-hmm. Because you feel like it's disturbing the path the country is going to, and
Correct.
yeah. Okay. Well, I think this is also like a really good loop to get back to the first question I asked you, like how you kept all your strengths, because you still really have it, and I can really feel the power in your words when you talk about it.
Well, strengths is something which depends of what are you looking for. First of all, you want to exist. And in order to exist in situations which are very, very destructive, you have to use your strengths. Mainly mentally strengths, not so much physically strength as a mentally strength, even though that physically strength is very important. Because I was starving for food, I didn't have what to eat, I was in an orphanage home, because there I could get some bread and some soup, which they called soup. It wasn't exactly soup, but they called it soup. And so the first thing is in order to stay alive, to survive. And then when you stay alive, you have some goals.
Yes.
And to achieve those goals, you have again to fight. Mainly to fight not physically, but mentally. This is the real strength. Mental is the real strength, not force.
And I think then with the implementation of the State of Israel, you had another even bigger goal to fight for.
That's right. But after we passed the independence war with all the Arab countries surrounding us that tried to invade the new state and to destroy the new state and to throw the citizens, the people of the new state to the Mediterranean Sea, we today feel that nobody can win us. Nobody.
So you also see this spirit and this strength in the young generations nowadays.
Even more.
Even more.
Even more.
That's wonderful.
No way. I say that pilots today are over and above the quality that I was. And also they believe that this is their goal, to defend and to do everything in order that this country will stay and develop all the time.
And I guess, or maybe this is also a reason for you, you're 89 now, right?
Almost.
And you still continue talking at different locations, different events, and you still continue to educate people. I think this is just such a wonderful and exceptional thing to do. And
yes, but for me it's not exceptional. I think that this is my duty, because I am the generation that can tell stories that the next generation they know about it, but only from hearing, not from practice. So I have to do it. My wife Tzipi has to do it.
Yeah, and listening to you, you don't only hear those stories, you really feel them. And I think that's the point.
Look, I usually give a speech of about an hour and a quarter, an hour and a half. And there are moments, not one, not two, that emotionally I have to stop for a second, because things are coming like a picture rolling in front of me, which is very, very hard emotionally.
Do you also, maybe very private question, do you also talk to your wife outside of those events, just in private, about those stories and share them with her?
The answer is yes, but we are married. How many years we are married?
67.
Wow.
67 years. So we spoke enough,
Yeah,
and today we want to enjoy, not to speak about what happened.
that is good. That is a good decision. But also, I think the decision is really good that you still continue to share it with the world.
Yes, with the world, that's correct.
And with everybody, and inspire young generations to be strong.
Inspire a generation. And I always said, especially I'm a lot coming to, especially in the Air Force, squadrons, bases, wings, but also in the armed forces. And I'm saying to the youngsters that we did whatever we could and whatever we had to.
Oh, and you still
And
do.
now we are giving the torch to you to continue and to do at least what we did, but even more. And I think that they are doing even more than what we did.
And this is just a wonderful result to see, I think.
That's right, that's right.
Shaya, it was a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, for sharing your insights. And I feel very honored to have met you, honestly.
It was a pleasure. Well, a pleasure is not the right word, because talking about those things, it's not a pleasure, but I was very honored to talk to you,
Same
to
for
be
me.
interviewed by you.
Thank you so much, Shaya.
Thank you.